Hello, my name is Nina Abukahok, and today I'm going to be going over my interprofessional assignment on ULAB recycling.
The table of contents includes a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today, including ULABs and lead poisoning, the site at Agbogbloshie, Ghana, the professional interviews conducted, the proposed interventions, and insights and summary looking back. Now we'll be talking about what are ULABs. ULAB stands for used lead acid batteries. Where do these batteries come from? Many developing countries buy used lead acid batteries from industrialized countries in bulk in order to extract lead. Also, often in these countries, there are a lot of used lead acid batteries at the bottoms of cell towers and a dump site where they can be scavenged, and some families keep these batteries as backup power in their own homes. These batteries can carry about 22 pounds of lead, and lead is currently selling for approximately 83 cents per pound, so there is a lot of money to be extracted in this business. The recycling of ULABs to profit off of lead is a lot of people's primary source of income and source of sustenance in lower middle income countries. Recycling of lead acid batteries is a profitable business, but very dangerous given the negative effects of lead poisoning. Now we'll be discussing the effects of lead poisoning that can occur due to ULABs recycling. ULAB recycling operations release lead-contaminated waste into the environment and natural ecosystems. This recycling occurs after breaking open the ULABs with an axe and a knife, dumping the battery acid onto the ground, removing the plates, and then burning them into an open furnace, which means that lead particles become released into the local environment during this activity. Inhaling these lead particles is extremely toxic. Additionally, ULABs also bioaccumulate in animals and particularly in their milk, and individuals who live around this dump site are contaminated in this manner as well. 86% of total global consumption of lead is produced solely from lead acid batteries. This makes the releasing of lead dust from these batteries the number one pollution source in the world. This lead dust is very toxic and readily absorbable. 1 in 3 children around the world are lead poisoned, and 90% of the children with high lead levels are in low and middle income countries, which is the main place that ULAB recycling takes place. Lead is a highly toxic metal that produces a range of adverse health impacts, particularly among young children. Children near these waste sites can experience long-term health issues, including increased incidence of heart and kidney disease, reduced intelligence due to brain damage, lower educational attainment, lower lifetime earnings, and increased tendency for violence. This ULAB recycling process of removing lead and melting it back into bars to sell to make money doesn't require educational training and is just something that people have become accustomed to as their way of life. So they may not understand all of the health risks that this imposes and the way that it could hurt them and their families.
Now let's take a look at a specific example of one of these ULAB dump sites where this process takes place and see if we can come up with an intervention to help solve this. Agbogbloshie is a former wetland, which is now home to the world's largest electronic waste dump site. It's nicknamed Sodom for the open fires used to extract metal from old electronics, which you can see in the picture on the left. 85% of the e-waste comes directly from West Africa itself, so simply banning the import of e-waste from other countries won't stop the issues. It must come from within the internal infrastructure. The e-waste dump is now a vital source of income for impoverished people of Ghana, and electronic scraps serve as one of the limited resources to the region. So, how can we fix this problem? I will now discuss my interview with 3 professionals who gave their ideas on the matter. Prior to the interviews, I presented the issue and problem of informal use lead acid battery recycling and showed the professionals the Pure Earth YouTube video for a little more understanding and context on the background of the issue at hand. Here you can see the 4 questions that were asked to the professionals. First, prior to watching the videos and learning the information I presented on ULABs, were you aware of the dangers of lead poisoning or the large number of children, especially in low middle income countries, whose health is negatively impacted by it? Second, now that you are aware of the e-waste dumping site in Ghana, is there an alternative way that you would suggest to recycle these batteries in a manner that is both environmentally and health conscious? Third, what steps would you take to implement this new method/intervention for recycling ULABs? And lastly, how do you think your recommended intervention will affect the community of Agbogbloshie initially and in the future?
The first professional I interviewed is Megan Otero, an ESE support facilitator at Flanagan High School. Regarding awareness, Megan stated that she was aware of the dangers of lead poisoning, but not that so many people, especially children, are affected by it in this manner. When asking her about her idea for a new recycling proposal, Megan suggested outsourcing to the USA to send in a company to handle the proper disposal techniques, as well as additional educational and training for the community. To implement this plan, Megan suggested collaboration with the Ghana government and local officials to allow for a smooth partnership with the U.S. team so that they can come over and implement the new intervention strategy. When considering immediate and future impacts, Megan stated They may initially be upset, but after educating them on the dangers of recycling being done improperly, hopefully they will come to an understanding of why this must be done. Additionally, they will be able to still maintain their livelihood as the incoming team's jobs will be to train them in proper techniques so they will be able to work for them as well. The goal is to educate and create safe jobs because I don't want to leave them without a means of survival. The future impacts would be long-term positive health impacts for everyone. The second professional I interviewed is Pearson Hodson, a telecom analyst at Royal Caribbean. Regarding awareness, Pearson stated that he didn't know that the recycling of batteries was such a big problem in so many places, but he did know that lead poisoning was dangerous, but not to the degree described. When asked about his idea for a new recycling proposal, Pearson suggested exporting the ULABs to outside of Ghana, bringing in less waste to the Agbogbloshie dump site. Additionally, he suggested implementing a nationwide switch from lead to lithium batteries. To implement this plan, Pearson suggested aiming to create properly managed recycling facilities rather than open access dump sites by working with the Ghana government to create incentives for proper recycling via tax credits that will benefit everyone. When considering immediate and future impacts, Pearson stated that anytime someone's form of livelihood is taken away, it will initially impact them negatively, but the key is to have open communication with the community on why this practice is harmful to them and why this alternative route must be taken. If they understand how this can impact not only them, but future generations by affecting the livestock, drinking water, air quality, etc., they will hopefully agree with the measures being taken. We can also work towards job transition since someone has to work at the recycling plants. Ultimately, the future impact is beneficial due to the health hazard posed. The last professional I interviewed is Amir Hagu, a criminal defense and immigration attorney at the EH law firm. Regarding awareness, Amir stated that he was aware of lead poisoning and of lead acid batteries, but not the extent of the dangers these present at the dump site in Ghana. When asked about his idea for a new recycling proposal, Amir suggested a two-part proposal. Part 1 includes first looking at the source of where these batteries are coming from. Assuming they're mainly from businesses such as mechanics, he would provide incentive to these businesses to recycle these properly. Part 2 includes looking at the source of who is buying the lead from the people who extract it at the dump site and implement infrastructure methodology by adding a special levy tax on the purchasers of lead. To implement this plan, Amir suggested that for Part 1 of the proposal, if there is no current regulation in place, he would start to lobby with the proper government authority. In this case, the Department of Transportation, to try to get a regulation in place for the mechanics and other places of business where there is a lot of lead battery disposal on proper recycling techniques. Additionally, the funds from the levy tax from Part 2 of the proposal could be used to educate the employees at these lead battery sources through literature or in person on proper disposal techniques and hazards. For Part 2, he suggested taking steps to get a treaty passed in multiple countries that are purchasing the lead from these dump site extractions. The treaty will include vowing to proper recycling techniques and the addition of a special levy tax on the purchasers of lead. The money from these taxes will go into the education process for the ULAB producers and the people of Ghana. When considering immediate and future impacts, Amir stated, I think that whenever a regulation is created, a black market will come to exist for the product. It's just the reality of it. However, if education on the dangers of this ULAB recycling is spread to the people at these dump sites, with the addition of infrastructure being implemented, they will hopefully come to understand why this must be done. The future impacts include multi-generational health benefits.
The proposed combination approach that I came up with involves a global treaty after hearing all three of the professionals' approaches. The first half of that would be a tax on purchasing leads, which would create funds for the switch to lithium, funds for education, and funds for new recycling facilities. The funds for education could be used to inform the people of Ghana of the harms of lead, teaching the proper disposal methods for industries involved, and training for the recycle facility workers. The second half of that would be regulations for ULAB recycling, including new recycling facilities with proper disposal away from the Agbogbloshie site and the jobs for former scavengers at the dump site so that the people would not be out of work. In summary, this issue is extremely complex and a solution would require cooperation and willingness from multiple parties, including those outside of Ghana's own government, to come in and assist. It was interesting to see how each professional thought of the issues in a different way. The teacher's main thought was to educate, the tech analyst solution was changing of the tech itself by switching to lithium, and the lawyer jumped to regulations and taxes. This has shown me how in a real-world setting, getting input from different sectors can help to come up with an ultimate solution to tackle an issue. That's my presentation. Here are my references. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening.